when people watch what I do, they say, do you really think problems are as simple as you make them out to be? I don't think problems are simple at all. I think problems are complex. I think they're multi-sided and multi-layered, but I think the solutions are often simple. The problems are often really complex, but the solutions can sometimes be as simple as waking up every day and making a different choice about how you start the day. And when you choose A instead of B, then that leads to C instead of D. We have the ability to change the narrative in our life. We can change our own story. We can write a different script for ourselves. The only person we can control is ourselves, and that's the only person we have to control is ourselves. But I think sometimes we think we're passengers, and we're not. We get to choose what we do and what we don't do. Sometimes there's neurology and not just psychology, but that too, you can choose to do something about that. And I'm so glad to hear you say to people, you can do this. You're not the one that can't be fixed.
I always thought I was the one. I just thought I'm different, and I can't eat 3 meals a day. I'll be the size that I don't want to be. And you're really right, Dr. Phil. Like, the problem is so much more than just food for me. But you know what my solution was? One day I had to wake up and I had to eat breakfast. Oh no. Breakfast, the thing that every woman skips, every person's, the thing that we know is the most important meal, but do we? It's like, I don't know any of my friends who eat breakfast. Everyone skips breakfast. And for me, I hadn't eaten breakfast in 20 years. Why am I going to eat a meal that I'm not even hungry for? And one day I was just like, well, let's see if you binge tonight, if you feed yourself all day. Let's just see. I think I still will, because I think the binge is not about being hungry. It's about I'm feeling things and I like binging. Let me just feed myself all day. I'll just trust, because I'm out of options, let me just do it. And I can always go back to the way I was doing. And I woke up one day, so hard to do, ate breakfast, ate a full lunch, wasn't trying to diet, wasn't trying to skimp. And that 11 o'clock hour comes around where I used to get in bed with all my protein bars and all my diet foods that I would just start munching on and go throughout the whole night. And I wasn't hungry for them. And I made it through that night. Then the next morning, I make myself eat breakfast again. It really was a simple step that I just thought, and I'll tell you, I am a thin woman, and I think I'm naturally built that way, but I never really knew what my body was. I was starving it before I was 18. I always thought that if I ate normal, I wouldn't have the body I wanted. And the thing is, I promise you can eat like a normal person, and you don't have to I always needed less, because I'm less. I always have to restrict. I don't get to have pleasure. I have to suffer for my pleasure. It was all connected to these beliefs that I just was open to trying something new and not thinking I had it all figured out. And that was the real trick of being like, I'll just try this other way.
I was talking about this with somebody recently. We get in these comfort zones and we tell ourselves, okay, at least this is the devil I know, but our comfort zones aren't really comfortable at all. They're just familiar.
Yes.
And that doesn't mean we like it, but what people tell me is the biggest fear they have is the risk not of failing, but of succeeding and having to keep it up. It's like, okay, I did something different and I got to a new level. Now there's so much pressure to keep myself here. And that's what people worry about. It's like, okay, now everybody's going to expect me to stay better, be better, keep doing differently.
Well, I don't think those people understand that when, if I'm talking about eating disorder, I was saying this to a friend recently. I know that eating 3 meals a day is going to be tough for you because you starve all day. But guess what? You're already doing something really tough. You're starving yourself all day. Remember when you first started doing that, how fucking hard that was to do?
Yeah.
Can't you maybe put yourself in the shoes of this will not be hard for you someday, this new way. It has to become habitual. So it's gonna challenge yourself to do a hard thing. And then I promise you over time, because the way you're living where you're suffering now, it may seem easy. Like you said, it's the devil but it's hard. And it only got easy because you did it a bunch. So just know that you'll get to that place with this new hard thing. And if you don't, we'll forgive you and you can start over whenever you want. It's only one day at a time. Sometimes I go, it's 1 minute at a time. Just don't go Don't binge for the next 2 minutes, Nikki. And I go play a song on my guitar. I write a journal page. This one day at a time stuff, I go, that's a long time. I take it literally 2 minutes at a time and just go, okay, set the timer for 2 minutes. If you don't want to go back to that bag of chips for 2 minutes, you can go back after 2 minutes if you still want to. And then I start doing something else. And then sometimes I don't want to. And sometimes I do. And I go back and at least I gave myself that time.
Do you think you're ever totally relaxed?
No. Even massages, I don't get massages because if I do get totally relaxed afterwards, I feel like they are like, okay, get out of here. And I feel like, well, aren't we going to talk and cuddle? Like, I just feel if I let myself totally relax, there's always an ending and I fear the ending. I'm a pleasure delayer, Dr. Phil. When I was a kid, Christmas presents, I wouldn't want to open them. I would want to be the last to open them. Orgasms, I push off. Food, I always want to be the last to get my food. I start getting depressed on the first day of vacations because I know that the end is now coming. Like, I love the buildup. So for me, relaxation means, okay, now that it's starting, this can't last forever. Already start fearing the end.
But you can do it again. You can relax 10 minutes at 8 o'clock in the morning and then 10 minutes again at noon and then 10 minutes again at 5.
That's a good reminder.
You can do this on a regular basis and it lasts for hours.
It's a good reminder. And I have to remind myself of that with food too, because I always go, oh, this meal's almost over. And I go, you'll be hungry again in 4 to 7 hours, girl. Like, it's going to happen. And sometimes you forget that there'll be another chance. I guess it's just, I don't like to reward myself unless there's pain first, unless I earned it. And I think one thing I'm trying really hard to do now is just, I deserve good things just because I exist, not because I suffered first. Just because I don't have to always suffer. But there's something in me that feels like I can't have good things unless I can't have dessert unless I worked out. Like, it's really hard for me to not have this, punishment afterwards or before something good.
Well, I have to think about this. You said pleasure delayer.
Yeah. I don't want it to come because it means it's going to end. Christmas Eve is the best. Christmas Day sucks because you're like, oh, I got to go back to school in 5 days. Christmas Eve, though, it's like anything could happen. But Christmas Day, I would always be very depressed for some reason. Christmas Eve is still the best. The day before my birthday sucks because it's like, oh, tomorrow it's not my birthday. But May 31st, it's tomorrow. What is that?
But it's renewable. See, you can replace it. Sam Jackson talks about the day he starts working on a movie, he realizes he's working himself out of a job. He tells his agent, when I start working on a movie, you better have 2 lined up for me the day I start on this one. So I don't ever have to worry that I'm working myself out of a job because I just know I'm getting to the next one instead of working myself out of this one. Reward is renewable. And I look at all the stuff that you've done. Oh, my God, you've always got something else that you move on to. You don't ever stop. No.
I remember seeing Joan Rivers say, like, I say yes to everything. And I mean, it killed her in the end. Like, she just was exhausted. But I think there's something in me also that knows that I became successful because I worked so hard. I didn't come out of the womb making people laugh. I think humor was something that I had a knack for, but I wasn't an expert at when I first started. Obviously, it just takes, I'm a big believer in practice, and the more you put in, the more you get out. So every time I say no, I go, oh, someone else is saying yes, and they're going to get better than me, and then I'm going to be forgotten, and then I'm not going to be able to afford to take care of my parents if they get some disease. Like, I just start spiraling with what that could, like, I'm failing if I say no.
It's hard for you to let something go by, to turn something down.
Oh, yes. Yes, it is. I've gotten better at saying no, but it is always a struggle. And I always feel like, that person's going to be mad at me. They're not going to ask me the next time, or,
that's why you're doing my podcast. That's what you're telling me.
No. This is a labor of love. I would have not done this had I not been in the right state of mind to do it. Because I'm getting better about knowing that sometimes I show up to things and I'm too tired. I'm not going to be good. I'm burnt out. And that's suffer. It'd be better if I didn't do it. But there's always that voice in my head that says, what if the one viewer that makes E give me a second season is the one woman who is listening to me on Dr. Phil and said, I'm going to support this lady. And so what if I didn't do his podcast and then I missed that one voice? And this isn't just your podcast. This is everything of like, I might miss that one person who might either change my life or I'll change their life by saying something they needed to hear. And yeah, there's just always the what ifs.